as I step out of the dark and gloom. I'm sure you can tell it is another early one. I think it's something like 6:30 in the morning, and I came out with the plan of shooting a kind of beautiful sunrise at a location I know well. I had the composition in my head pretty much ready to go, but as you can see, we have got thick, dense fog this morning. I don't know if you can actually hear over my shoulder. You can even hear a ship sailing past. And so every now and again it's just having to, of course, sound its foghorn, because of course I bet it doesn't want to have any accidents this morning. You can't even see it. You can barely see anything. Absolutely crazy. But of course, while the conditions aren't what I hoped, it doesn't mean that there's not compositions to be found. So I think what we'll do is we'll wait for it to get a little bit lighter, and yeah, we'll see what the light brings us. So I guess the overriding question is, what is this video all about this week? Well, I guess some weeks there's not actually going to be a message. It's going to be a chance to go out with the camera, shoot some what I hope will be amazing images, and take you along for the ride, in all honesty. I guess in some ways this would be a follow-up to last week's introduction, really. But I suppose what gets me up in the morning, what gets me up to come and shoot dreary, foggy mornings like this? I guess the answer to that is probably pretty simple. It's the opportunity to see things you wouldn't normally see. By that I mean I wouldn't have been seen dead getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, getting up, going out with the camera to the most random of locations. On a normal day, in a normal life, I would have no reason to come down here. And it's only when you start getting out to these places, like if you're not into photography, if you just like going for walks, if you just like hiking, if you just like being outdoors, being around nature, like places like this, it's almost serenity. It's so peaceful being out here this morning. It might be foggy, I might not be getting the sunrise light that I desperately hoped for, but it doesn't matter. Getting out in nature, enjoying the peaceful sounds of ships going past. That's a new one actually. But normally, like when it's high tides and you get that lapping sound of the waves, or you get the bird song in the morning when you're down the woods, there's nothing peaceful, and like, not for the first time, like you go out with the weight of the world on your shoulders. But for some reason, the moment I'm out with the camera, all those concerns just get forgotten. There's been times where you kind of drive to a specific spot kind of an hour, 2 hours away, and you think to yourself, oh Christ, the cost of petrol and everything, is this trip really worth it? Then you get to the location, you set up, you get the morning light, or you get whatever conditions you're kind of hoping for, and you suddenly realise within a couple of minutes there's a light that just switches on inside me. It's just like, yeah, this is worth it. Every time I come out, it's worth it. Sometimes it gets me down when the conditions aren't quite what I hope, because, like I say, I've got a full-time job, so I can't pick and choose when I can go out. I've got to really be careful and time it whenever I get an opportunity. So maybe a location like today, it's been a little bit of a waste, or it might end up being a little bit of a waste on another day. But I think there's new me, and yeah, even when it's foggy and you think to yourself, there's not much light, there's not much to focus on. You'll find something. You'll find something. Don't give up. Don't give up hope. Even if you think to yourself, oh, I can't find anything, use it as a scouting trip. There's an opportunity to find something to come back on a better day. So it's always worth it. It's always worth it. As you can see though, tripod is down, ready. Might have to adjust that. I think it's a little bit too low for the scene that I'm after. Camera is here, ready to fire, using the 24 to 105mm. Today, my favourite lens to use. And at the moment, I've got a composition in my mind. Usually you've got there's this walkway, you can't see it because of the fog, and this is what I'm mainly here to shoot. There's a walkway that leads off into the fog. And there's a landmark out, just a little way out. It's why I've come here at low tide, because normally, of course, at high tide, all of this would be underwater, so I couldn't be down this close to the edge of the shore. But I think it's literally, I don't think we're quite at low tide yet. So, but yeah, what I love is the fact that if you can see, you've got these. I don't actually know what it is. A bit of wood, and it kind of just leads you out to this little kind of plank here, or bit of walkway, bit of path. Again, like, the fog just creates such an atmosphere. I've just got to find that right shot now. I think I'm still not quite there yet to be able to shoot handheld, which is good for you, because I'll be able to get the camera on tripod. I'll be able to get the live view up and actually share the composition with you. Let's stick the live view. Let's stick the live view up for you. There you go. Let's come nice and low again. I think one of the most difficult things when you're kind of shooting photography is you need to think to yourself, okay, the world is, everyone takes a shot like this. Right, stand at normal height, I'm about 6'4", grab the shot, yeah, done. And the thing is, I think the first thing I always think of myself is that, well, everyone does that. You come along with your phone and you just take a simple shot like that of the world. When you're out at a location, you almost need to think to yourself, okay, this shot's been done 1,000 times, and I know I said last week that you can't get the same shot as somebody else when you visit another day, because of that kind of theory that you freeze in time. But at the same time, you want to try and think outside the box and just try and think of something new, try and get a different aspect, a different viewpoint. So the first thing I always like to try and do is, as you can tell from previous videos, so I like to come and drop nice and low. There we go, something maybe like that. I think that already I'm really happy with that. What I don't like is the fact that you've got these rocks just here. And one thing I've kind of learned already is you want to try and create separation between those rocks where possible, because of course it then creates a nice flow. It almost creates a bit of a maze through those, but the rocks are so compacted, I don't think that is going to be possible, because equally I need to bring the shot up like I was talking in the last midweek madness. I'll put a link up on screen if you've not had a chance to watch that. You want to make sure that when you're taking, or when you're setting up the composition, you need to make sure that you've got the balance right with the rule of thirds where possible before you go into post. The reason for that is when you get into post, when you get into Lightroom, you then don't have to worry about, you only lose parts of the shot that you're happy to lose when it comes to cropping. You're not forced to crop out bits of the shot you maybe don't want to lose at all. But maybe something like this. Maybe something like this. I kind of want more of this, leading edge. And actually, I've just noticed here, you've kind of got this. You've got this, which is almost creating another leading to the path. I might come around there because, of course, I don't know. What do we think? If I come out too far, so come out a bit further, you've got all this potential dead space, which I'm not a fan of. But then over here, you've got these two groins, or sticks of wood. Can you call them groins? So at some point, I want to make sure that when I actually take the shot, this is on the right vertical. Let's just move that just so you're getting the right things in focus here for the live view. Yeah, so I'm not sure at the moment what I might do. Yeah, if we come down a little bit, yeah, I don't like. Trouble is here, it's one thing you kind of learn from watching Thomas Heaton and the like. When you're watching them on the beaches, they're saying make sure you don't leave footprints, and you kind of got where people have walked out to the landmark. You've got all these kind of like footprints, and they kind of muddy the scene just a little bit. So as you can see from that little bit of B-roll that I've not overly bothered with today, camera and tripod are now set up. Again, as you can tell from previous videos, I've got the viewfinder up, and I'll just walk you through that final composition that I've decided upon. See, you've got this leading edge over here on the right, along with this here bit of mud. And they're both leading you in to this kind of paved bit of pathway, just sticking out the mud itself. You've got two groins over here on the right hand side, and then you've got these rocks, which I've tried my best to create a little bit of separation between, but yeah, they're so densely packed. I think in this case it's impossible to do that, so I've got to make do with what I can. Settings today, so we're using a tripod. So what's the ISO going to be? Yep, 100. Doesn't need to be any higher. In these conditions, it's flat, it's calm. Yeah, there's not much else I can say. I've gone for f13 to kind of get as much of the shot in focus. I might take multiple images though, so that I can make sure as much of the shot is in focus, and then I'll merge them together in post, and that leaves me with a 2-second shutter speed. Now we're using the 2-second shutter speed. So even though we're on the tripod, what else do we need to make sure that we set? The 2-second timer. We do not want camera shake in this image, do we? So let's remember to set that. At the moment, I've got the focus firmly on the pathway. If I take any more shots, one will be over on the groin, and maybe there'll be another one here in the foreground, just to play it safe. Here we go though. Autofocus is locked, shutter is activated. There's the shutter, there's your 2 seconds. First image has been taken, and we're going to move that autofocus point just over to the groin. Shutter once again activated. There's your 2-second shutter, and then finally we're going to focus very much on this foreground. I want as much in focus as possible. So for the final time, shutter activated, 2-second timer, and if this shot today has come out how I wanted it to, it'll appear on your screen now.